I remember being in the studio with Pac, and he actually went in the mic booth to write. He spits California Love, 1 or 2 takes.
Pac was a street dude.
Right.
And he represented thug life on the surface, right? But you get into the message and his direction, he was really a revolutionary and trying to lead people.
I think Pac was probably the fastest, most efficient guy I ever worked with in the studio.
I would honestly say that, you know, if there's anybody I wish I could be a little more like, it'd probably be Pac. I think he was somebody who genuinely was a free spirit. He did not care, you know, and he just did what he felt.
My favorite rapper was Pac. It was my favorite rapper before I even started rapping.
And what Pac showed me was really, not being scared to show, vulnerability in your music.
When it comes to hip-hop greatness, few names hit harder than Tupac Shakur. More than 25 years after his death, the buzz around his talent hasn't faded. But what did the people who worked closest with him really think? And what set him apart from every other rapper who touched a mic?
It was crazy because when we, before he got to us, we would have like a bunch of in there and it would be going like real slow. We like listen to songs. Like for example, if I made a song today, we listen to that for like 3 days. Just be stuck on that motherfucker.
Snoop Dogg paints a picture of the typical death row studio environment before Tupac's arrival, a leisurely, almost indulgent creative process where artists would marinate in their work for days. But when Tupac stepped through those studio doors, everything changed. The entire energy shifted from casual creativity to intense, focused artistry that would redefine what it meant to be productive in the booth.
When this came, he changed the whole strip around. It was like, pull this song up. And everybody in the studio, he like, all right, I got 4 verses. Start writing. Nigga start writing. He go in there and bust, you bust, you bust, you bust. Song is done. Don't even listen to it.
This wasn't just about speed. It was about a completely different mindset toward creation. Where others saw music making as a process of deliberation and refinement, Tupac saw it as pure expression that couldn't wait. His approach was revolutionary, not because it was faster, but because it was more authentic, more immediate, more connected to the raw emotion that drives great art.
Pull the next track up.
Damn.
I got 3 verses on this because I'm doing 1. I'm gonna leave 2 for y'all. Who wants some? Bust. That shit wasn't hard. That shit was tight. That was tight. Y'all in there, you out. Boom. Next song, we'll listen to it tomorrow. Do like 3-4 songs, and then he come back and listen after the engineers, fine-tune it and move it.
The productivity was staggering, but what made it even more remarkable was the quality that came with that speed. This wasn't quantity over quality. This was an artist operating on a level where both existed simultaneously. Other rappers needed time to craft and perfect. Tupac seemed to channel perfection directly from his soul to the microphone.
Yeah, that nigga, him and Daz did half of that motherfucker in 2 weeks.
All Eyes on Me, a double album that would become one of hip-hop's most celebrated works, was essentially half completed in just 2 weeks. To put this in perspective, most artists struggle to complete a single album in a year, yet Tupac was crafting what would become a classic at breakneck speed.
I think Pac was probably the fastest, most efficient I ever worked with in the studio. Okay. A lot of niggas take a long time, you know that.
But even legendary producers like Dr. Dre were left in awe of Tupac's process. When someone who has worked with the greatest talents in hip-hop history singles out one artist's efficiency, it speaks to something truly extraordinary.
For real.
It was incredible. You know, I remember being in the studio with Pac, and he actually went in the mic booth to write, you know, and I'm like, okay, that's different. So I'm in the control room, and he writes the lyrics. All right, I'm ready, you know. He spits California Love, 1 or 2 takes. Like, all right, put the next thing up. And he would just sit in the booth, you know, like put the next thing up, right? Put the next thing up. You know, I think that's the reason why he has so many songs and so much material, you know? It was incredible.
Dr. Dre's account reveals something even more astounding. Tupac didn't just rap fast, he wrote fast too. While most artists separate the writing and recording process, Tupac combined them into one fluid motion. He would literally write lyrics in the booth, then immediately deliver them with the passion and precision that made songs like California, Love instant classics.
Yeah, Tupac, you know what I'm saying, when I first hooked up with him, we did Ambitious Overriding.
I won't deny you, I'm a straight rider. You don't wanna with me. Got the police, but they can't do you.
And I went to go roll a blunt, come back, and the song was done. And he was like, let's get to the next one. And, you know, we did 5 songs that night.
Producer Daz Dillinger witnessed this phenomenon firsthand. In the time it took to roll a blunt, Tupac had completed an entire song. 5 songs in one night wasn't unusual. It was Tuesday. This wasn't just talent. This was talent multiplied by an almost superhuman work ethic and creative urgency. But speed meant nothing without substance. And this is where Tupac truly separated himself from his contemporaries. His rapid-fire creativity was matched by a depth of content that resonated resonated across generations and cultures.
He was talking to the people in the struggle and was like, if you listen to what I'm saying, I'm gonna walk you to where we in the direction we need to be going toward. So I think, just in terms of intention, Pac was a street dude.
Right.
And he represented thug life on the surface, right? But you get into the message and his direction, he was really a revolutionary and trying to lead people.
Nipsey Hussle, himself a conscious voice in hip-hop, recognized something profound in Tupac's approach. Here was an artist who could speak the language of the streets while simultaneously elevating the conversation. He wasn't talking down to people or preaching from an ivory tower. He was meeting people where they were and guiding them forward.
Yep. I know Chicago, this is a city of gang culture, but it's a self-destructive way of life. But that's what we was raised on. And it's a delicate balance to try to say something else to these young people and even to your own generation, because it's contrary to what outside is what's going on. So it's about being strategic and leading people without losing them. And I think Pac was one of the best at that.
This strategic leadership through music was perhaps Tupac's greatest gift. He understood that you couldn't simply tell people to change. You had to show them a path that honored where they came from while pointing towards something better. It's a balancing act that few artists have ever mastered.
Tupac is a god in hip-hop for two huge big reasons. Dear Mama and Brenda Had a Baby. He wrote a song about teenage pregnancy, and then he did a record about his mother. So it wasn't the fact that he could spit lyrics, it wasn't the fact that he was just from the streets. It's a fact that what he did with his music that makes him legendary to us here in hip-hop culture.
DMC from Run DMC cut straight to the heart of what made Tupac special. Technical skill was common in hip-hop, street credibility was expected, but the courage to be vulnerable, to address social issues with both heart and intelligence, that was rare. Dear Mama and Brenda's Got a Baby weren't just songs, they were cultural moments that expanded what rap music could be and say. The influence of this approach can be heard in the testimonies of artists who came after him, each acknowledging how Tupac's fearless honesty shaped their own artistic journeys.
My favorite rapper was Pac. It was my favorite rapper before I even started rapping, before I even ever thought of it. Like, it went from Michael Jackson, Bobby Brown as a kid, you know what I mean? An artist like that, even Kool Moe Dee, like just the cool dudes that I looked up to.
J. Cole's admission reveals how Tupac transcended typical rap fandom. He wasn't just another rapper Cole liked. He was the artist who made Cole believe rap could be his calling. When someone mentions Tupac alongside Michael Jackson in terms of artistic inspiration, it speaks to an impact that went far beyond hip-hop.
I remember him coming home with that first Pac album, with Brenda's Got a Baby, it's Tupacalypse Now. And that was, since then, right, that was my, when I was too young to know what he was talking about, you know what I mean? But it connected, because that's the thing about art. It's just truth, it's straight, whatever you feel. So even as a 7-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid, I can hear Pac early albums and feel the truth.
This is the mark of transcendent artistry, the ability to communicate truth so purely that it reaches people regardless of their age, background, or understanding. A 7-year-old J. Cole couldn't comprehend the complexities of teenage pregnancy or urban struggle, but he could feel the sincerity, the pain, and the hope in Tupac's voice.
Definitely. Storytelling was the whole niche of the album. I want to bring that back into the game. And what Pac showed me was really, not being scared to show, vulnerability in your music, because that makes, the biggest connection, with the audience. Yeah. So when I speak on certain, topics about, certain friends or my homeboys or a certain female, it's not only real to me, but it's real to the listener.
Kendrick Lamar, widely considered one of the most lyrically gifted artists of his generation, points to vulnerability as Tupac's secret weapon. In a genre that often prized emotional armor, Tupac showed that strength could come from openness, that connecting with people required the courage to be seen completely. Even artists from different genres recognize something special in Tupac's fearless authenticity.
I would honestly say that, if there's anybody I wish I could be a little more like, it would probably be Pac. He just, I think more than anything, aside from his music, which was absolutely incredible, I think he just drove people with who he was, the way he carried himself, how little he cared.
Drake's admiration focuses on something beyond musical ability. It's about presence, authenticity, and the freedom that comes from not being controlled by others' opinions. In an era of social media scrutiny and constant judgment, Tupac's fearless self-expression seems almost revolutionary.
I think he was somebody who genuinely was a free spirit. He did not care, and he just did what he felt. And I wish I could have a little more Pac to my persona. I'm working on it.
The longing in Drake's voice is palpable. Here's one of the most successful artists in the world admitting he's still trying to learn from Tupac's example. It's not about copying Tupac's style or sound. It's about capturing that essence of creative fearlessness. But perhaps the most telling aspect of Tupac's genius was how it manifested technically. Many dismiss him as purely emotional, but those who understood rap at its deepest level recognize recognized the sophisticated craft behind the passion.
I believe he was super lyrical. And I believe he was a revolutionary. Like, the type of lyrics that he was rapping wasn't just trying to fit in or just trying to, like, you know what I mean, just spit a hot rap. Like, it was a lot of points and messages and a lot of deep stuff in Pac lyrics that you got to be at a certain place to even understand it.
Cassidy, himself known for complex wordplay and battle rap excellence, defends Tupac's lyrical abilities by pointing to something many miss: the sophistication required to embed profound messages within accessible music. It's actually harder to be deep and simple than to be complex and abstract.
You got to be at a certain place to even understand it. Or the majority of stuff that Pac was trying to get across will go over your head, and you will only listen to a small piece of it and think that's not lyrical, because the lyrical stuff that he was doing, you're not catching. You know what I mean?
This explains why Tupac's reputation has only grown over time. As listeners mature and experience more of life, they discover new layers in songs they thought they already understood. The mark of truly great art is this ability to reveal itself gradually, offering new insights with each encounter.
Well, he was able to like put conversation in rap form, make it rhyme. He was piecing up multiple syllables. He could use figurative language when he wanted. He could say stuff that was like double entendre, stuff that had multiple meanings. But even on his diss song, first off, your bitch in the click you claim, west side where we ride, come equipped with game. Like, that's 3 syllables right there. It's pieced up. People still rhyming 1 syllable in songs today. You know what I mean? Or even 2. He was piecing up 3 back then at will and putting it in talk form, which is difficult to do.
The technical breakdown reveals Tupac's subtle mastery. While other rappers were focusing on simple rhyme schemes, he was weaving complex syllabic patterns into conversational flows that sounded effortless. This naturalness masked the sophistication, leading some to underestimate his technical ability.
But Pac was a genius, man. Like, Pac got so much dope shit. And then he was original. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know too many, I never heard like nobody sound like Pac. I never heard nobody like, oh, he got his style from this person alone.
Originality in hip-hop is rare. Most artists can be traced to influences compared to predecessors or placed in specific schools of rap. Tupac existed as his own category, creating a template that was uniquely his own and impossible to replicate authentically. Even those who worked in different eras of hip-hop recognized how Tupac's evolution as an artist set him apart from his contemporaries.
On his first few albums, he was really trying to find his way. I think he really put it together with the Against the World album.
It's just me against the world.
It really started to come together production-wise.
Ice Cube's analysis shows how Tupac's greatness wasn't immediate. It was developed through constant refinement. Me Against the World marked the moment when Tupac's artistic vision fully crystallized, when all elements of his artistry, lyricism, production choices, conceptual focus aligned perfectly.
With his first music, he would triple rap his vocals. You know, like rap it once and then rap it right on top and then rap it again.
Lord knows I don't need another DUI.
So when he stopped doing that and it just clean one track, that's when Tupac emerged as one hell of an artist.
This technical detail reveals how Tupac grew as an artist by learning when less was more. The evolution from layered vocals to single clean delivery marked his transformation from a talented rapper to a complete artist who understood that power could come from restraint and clarity. The global impact of this evolution wasn't lost on those who witnessed hip-hop's expansion beyond American borders.
Tupac rapped about the struggles in America, and he was somewhat of a revolutionary. And rap music, we never saw that. I don't think in all music we've seen anything like that.
Nas places Tupac's contribution in the broader context of not just hip-hop, but all of music history, to suggest that all music had never seen anything like Tupac's revolutionary approach to social commentary is to acknowledge an artist who transcended his genre entirely. Perhaps the most powerful testament to Tupac's impact comes from those who experienced his work during their most formative years, when authenticity cuts deepest and influences last longest.
I just kind of identify with a young, black male who deal with trials and tribulations and, can express his art through his poetry.
Chris Brown's identification with Tupac speaks to something universal in the human experience: the need to see yourself reflected in art, to find someone who has walked a similar path and emerged with their voice intact. Tupac became that mirror for countless young people navigating their own struggles.
And also, through everything I'm passionate, so I can identify with that. Everything I do is passionate. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So, you know, whether it be, you know, me going to the store, getting groceries, all right, I gotta get these groceries, or, you know, me painting. So it's just, I'm passionate about everything I do. So I can identify with how Tupac kind of, you know, had that moral.
You know, and also, you know, through everything, I'm passionate, so I can identify with that. Everything I do is passionate. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So, you know, whether it be, you know, me going to the store, getting groceries, all right, I got to get these groceries, or, you know, me painting. So it's just, I'm passionate about everything I do, so I can identify with how Tupac kind of, you know, had that moral. The passion that Chris Brown recognizes in Tupac wasn't reserved for music alone. It was a way of approaching life itself. This total commitment to authenticity in every moment is what separated Tupac from artists who could turn their artistry on and off like a switch.
There is any way that me and him connected was just being able to take what's going on in our lives and be able to put it in words. And I think that's one great thing that Tupac did, was he set a standard. Like, the average fan who's listening to music is like, if you don't make me care about your life, I'm not gonna care about you. So that's what you have to do, is make them feel like there may be something that you're going through, and that person is going through the same thing.
Eminem articulates what might be Tupac's greatest innovation, the elevation of personal experience to universal truth. Tupac didn't just rap about his life. He found ways to make his specific experiences speak to broader human conditions, creating connections that transcended geographical, racial, and cultural boundaries.
His music was a Bible to him being here and to after he was gone. I think what he meant to me was finding my voice and finding my true calling on who I am, on being a father, being a leader, and not being a follower. Having a relationship with him, we were equal. We were eye to eye. We were, you know, we ran the race the same way. So I attribute a lot of my success to where I am now by having the spirit that he had, as far as to always want to be better and to do better and to want to give back.
Snoop Dogg's reflection reveals how Tupac's influence operated on multiple levels, as an artist, as a friend, and as a model for how to live. The spirit that Snoop describes, the constant drive for improvement and the desire to give back, became a blueprint that extended far beyond music into personal philosophy and social responsibility. The reach of this influence extended into unexpected places, touching artists who came from entirely different backgrounds but recognized something familiar in Tupac's journey.
What, Tupac,
Yeah,
him being
Pac
from
and-
Harlem?
yeah.
Yo, it does. Believe it or not, he was born in the same hospital. He was born, if I'm not mistaken, he was born in St. Luke's, you know? And I was born in St. Luke's. He lived on 116th Street in Morningside. I was born on 116th in Morningside. My brother died on 116th in Morningside. He lived on 182nd and Bathgate Avenue. That's where I moved when I moved to the Bronx.
What?
So after he moved from the Bronx, after he moved from Harlem, he moved to the Bronx, and I believe he went to like Baltimore or like DC, and that's when he went to school with like Jada Pickett and stuff.
$1 AP. Rocky's discovery of these geographical connections speaks to something deeper about artistic influence. Sometimes it's not just about the music, but about the sense that someone else walked similar streets, faced similar challenges, and emerged with their creativity intact. These physical touch points become spiritual connections.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, man. I love Snoop and Pac, yo, for real. That's what I wear it for, man. And Dre and stuff. Death Row is dope, yo. You know, I mean, I'm a fan, like, you know, and I'm not too cool to say it, like, I'm still a fan.
Rocky's admission of continued fandom, despite his own success, illustrates something crucial about Tupac's legacy. It doesn't diminish with time or success. Artists don't outgrow their appreciation for Tupac. If anything, deeper understanding of the craft makes them appreciate his contributions even more. The breadth of this influence becomes even more remarkable when you consider how different artists extract different lessons from the same source material.
And I wanted to get everybody, every thug, everybody in the streets, everybody who's suffering, everybody who's struggling and, you know, looking for a voice. I wanted to tell them everything they wanted to hear and then get as many people as I can to follow me. And then once I got those people to follow me, then my next project, I'm gonna make a project and tell them everything they need to hear. Not just what they want to hear, but what they need to hear.
This quote from Sway's interview with Tupac reveals the strategic thinking behind what many saw as pure emotion. Tupac understood that leadership required meeting people where they were before you could take them where they needed to go. This wasn't manipulation, it was empathy translated into artistic strategy.
I've been all over the world, and I see the Tupac legacy is so deep. You got people who live as if he was still here, and they believe he's still here through the way that they walk, the way that they talk, the way that they think. You know, he gave people a different train of thought to think with some intelligence and not just be ignorant.
The global reach that this unknown speaker describes points to something unprecedented in hip-hop, an artist whose influence transcended not just musical boundaries, but cultural and geographical ones as well. Tupac didn't just export American rap, he exported a way of thinking about struggle, authenticity, and social consciousness.
This was incredible about Tupac. Tupac died when he was 25. Think about that. You know what I mean? That's incredible. We didn't even recognize how incredible that was. That was incredible. Who does that? Grammys, movies, multiple albums, double albums, and all in a short span of time.
Nipsey Hussle's amazement at what Tupac accomplished by age 25 puts everything in perspective. Most artists are just finding their voice at 25. Tupac had already created multiple classic albums, starred in films, and established himself as a cultural icon. The compressed timeline of his achievements makes them even more remarkable.
He's like, this Tupac. I'm like, this ain't no Tupac. So I was like, man, I'm getting ready to hang the phone up. So he's like, man, this is Tupac. He's like, all right, what's happening? He was like, did you do that record on Poetic Justice, Endo Smoke? I said, yes. He said, man, I want you to come up to the studio, up to Echo Sound. So I said, say no more. So I grabbed my drum machine, grabbed my records, grabbed my 45, put it on my hip, jumped in my raggedy ass Regal, got on the freeway and went up to Echo Sound.
Warren G's story captures something essential about how Tupac worked. He was constantly seeking out new collaborators, new sounds, new ways to push his artistry forward. The fact that he personally reached out to Warren G shows an artist who understood that great music comes from great relationships and unexpected combinations.
And he heard the beat, he was like, that's dope. He said, I want to write to that right there. He said, okay, let's put it on tape. He was in the console room, just bouncing around, just writing for about 30 minutes, and then he went in the booth, and that's when he started busting, and I'm like, damn, he wrote that fast, so he busting. And then so he did the first verse, and then after that he just said, my definition of a thug. And he kept going.
Warren G's account reveals the complete creative process from initial inspiration to finished product happening in real time. 30 minutes of writing followed by immediate recording wasn't unusual. It was standard operating procedure for an artist who lived in a constant state of creative urgency. But beyond the technical prowess and creative speed, what emerges from all these testimonies is a picture of an artist who understood something fundamental about the relationship between authenticity and influence. Tupac didn't just perform emotion, he lived it, breathed it, and translated it into art that continues to resonate decades after his passing.
Like, he just was original and went in so many directions that wasn't there before he did it. So I think that's why he's lyrical. And if he was around to this day, like still, you would have really even be able to see how lyrical he was. You know what I mean?
Cassidy's observation contains a haunting truth. Tupac's death at 25 froze him at a particular moment in his artistic development. Had he lived, his lyrical evolution might have reached heights we can only imagine. What we consider his peak might have been just the beginning.
Yeah, like, yeah, tats, the whole gangster mentality, thug life, and showing that you could be commercial and do songs to show that you got a conscience, you got a heart, but at the same time, you could still be, you know what I'm saying, ready. Like, I'm ready to get it popping. I'm ready to get busy.
The duality that Cassidy describes became Tupac's trademark. The ability to be simultaneously tender and tough, conscious and street, commercial and underground. This wasn't contradiction. It was completeness. It was the full spectrum of human experience expressed without apology or compromise.
It just depends on the situation, and that's what make you a man, when you can make them type of decisions. So I feel like that's what Pac was showing. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I can be the Chris Rock, you know what I mean, and fall back. But at other times I could be Will Smith and I'm ready to smack the shit out you. But that's still me. They both my personalities.
Using contemporary examples, Cassidy illustrates how Tupac normalized the complexity of human nature in hip-hop. Before Tupac, rap often demanded that artists choose a lane and stay in it. Tupac showed that authenticity meant embracing all aspects of yourself, even the contradictory ones.
But some people only want to show one side, and I feel like that's faker than showing all of you. So that's why I respect the ball.
This final observation from Cassidy strikes at the heart of Tupac's enduring appeal. In a world that often demands people present simplified versions of themselves, Tupac's willingness to be fully human, flawed, complex, evolving, was revolutionary then and remains inspiring now. The collective testimony of these legendary artists paints a picture of Tupac that transcends typical discussions of greatest rappers or most influential albums. What emerges is the portrait of an artist who operated on a different frequency entirely, someone who combined unprecedented technical skill with unmatched emotional honesty, lightning-fast creativity with deep social consciousness, street credibility with universal appeal.